Evening peeps, good evening everyone. How's everyone doing? Hopefully you guys are all doing well. Don't forget, if you're new to the channel, like, share, subscribe. Also, don't forget, I'm going to keep reminding you, we are going live tomorrow evening at 8 p.m. So Thursday evening, 8 p.m. I'm going live for a couple of hours. I've reached out to some guests as well, so it's going to be me plus some guests, which should make it a bit more interesting. Loads to talk about right now from the world of boxing. Daniel Dubois versus who, February 22nd. It's not going to be AJ. So who is it going to be? Should be Joseph Parker, but there are other options as well. What does that mean for AJ? Hamza Shiraz is likely to be on that card as well. Is it going to be a world title fight? Alam Kanali, Erislandy Lara, Carlos Adames, Shakur Stevenson on that card. We can talk about what's going on stateside. Obviously, Jaron Ennis in action this weekend. Jesse Bam Rodriguez in action this weekend. And we can talk about CONOR Benn, because news has just broke in the last, 45 minutes. CONOR Benn's provisional doping suspension lifted. His saga with the British Boxing Board of Control is finally over. And this has been the longest saga I can ever remember in British boxing history. That I can remember. I'm sure there's something from 50, 60 years ago. But in my lifetime, this has just been ongoing and ongoing. And you always felt like it was never going to end. So this clearly now paves the way for a big showdown with Chris EUBANK Jr. Could it go on that February card? I did a video this morning saying I think not. But who knows? I mean, look, it's definitely going to happen. 100%. CONOR Benn is fighting Chris EUBANK Jr. 100%. This is what CONOR Benn has had to say. What does he say? The past 24 months has unquestionably been the toughest of my life. It's been a roller coaster period within which the WBC has already decided that I was innocent, and the NADP, so the National Anti-Doping Panel, decided in the first instance that there was no case to answer and I was free to fight. UKAD say the charge against him has been consequently dismissed. However, they're reviewing the decision in accordance with appeal rights. They've got 21 days to lodge that appeal. They're not going to appeal. The British Boxing Board of Control haven't released a statement yet. I'm filming this at 8 o'clock. UKAD added it's been unable to publicly disclose the full decision of the NADP at this time without Benn's consent. What else did they go on to say? This is what Eddie Hearn has said. He expects the EUBANK fight to happen in early 2025. It's the easiest fight in the world to promote. The first time we sold out the highest ever gate at the O2 for boxing, it was sold so quickly I can't even tell you. Now with everything, it's 3 or 4 times bigger. I think you'll see it in February or March 2025. It can land in Riyadh, but AJ Dubois was epic for the British boxing, and this will be too. It's always nice to have at least one stadium fight a year. To do that in the first quarter would be encouraging for what might follow. That's going to happen. It's going to happen now. Look, I think it's a big fight for British boxing. I know there will be some of you that are watching this that are not happy that he's been cleared, but I mean, 2 years is 2 years. It's been a ridiculous situation. I've always said that I thought Benn's team handled this wrongly from the beginning. It's not like he's been suspended 2 years, or maybe he has been suspended 2 years by the British Boxing Board of Control, but he has fought. I mean, Benn fought a couple of times last year in America. But yeah, this has gone on and on and on. And I mean, even if you are one of those people that, you know, boxers should serve their time, I think even most would say, okay, he served his time. Like, he served his time. No, I think he has. And now, as I said at the top, it paves the way for Chris EUBANK Jr. versus CONOR Benn. Chris EUBANK Jr. has options, but this one is the biggest financial option. I mean, there was a lot of talk about Canelo. Canelo's team have obviously said that isn't happening, that there is no conversation about a EUBANK versus Canelo. So this financially is the next biggest fight. This is bigger than him. I say him, Chris EUBANK Jr. fighting for a world title at 160. This is bigger than him fighting Lara, Alam Kanali, or Carlos Adames. Way bigger. And I mean, apart from Lara, Chris might look at this as the easiest fight. And it is. This is easier than Carlos Adames. This is easier than Alam Kanali. Those two probably will beat this version of Chris EUBANK Jr. This makes him a bucket load of money. A bucket load of money. The casuals will lap this up. If this fight were to happen in the UK, I agree with Eddie. This is bigger than it was the first time round. And the first time round felt enormous. I remember doing the face-off, and I think the face-off got huge numbers. Like well over 1 million people watched the face-off. So there's a lot of interest and intrigue. Has it been damaged? You know, the problem is, yeah, for us hardcore boxing fans, we might feel like, yeah, it has been damaged a bit. But for the casual boxing fans, for those that just dip their toes in and out of the sport once a year, they don't care. They just want to see these two guys get it on. The EUBANK and Benn name still holds a lot of weight. And EUBANK looked good in his last fight. CONOR BENN hasn't lost. Although the performances haven't been great, he's not lost. So it's not like either have kind of slipped or slid off. Yes, EUBANK lost against Liam Smith, but then the comeback performance against Liam Smith was maybe his best performance. So EUBANK looks good. CONOR BENN's ready. He's been chopping at the bit to get going. I do have concerns about the weight. Obviously, CONOR BENN will have to go up to middleweight. He'll have to fight at 160. Chris Eubank isn't dropping 3 or 4 pounds for nobody this time. Chris Eubank's in the driving seat here. The first time round, I felt like it was a 50-50 fight, right? Negotiating table 50-50 fight. Who was going to get the most money? 50-50, whatever. And I felt like Chris wanted to make the fight so desperate. He was like, okay, we'll do it at 157. This time round, he ain't doing none of that. He ain't doing none of that. This fight will be at 160. But it's a big fight. It's a big fight, people. Whether or not you like it or don't like it, this is a big fight. And let's be honest, everyone that's like, oh, I don't like it, will tune in. You're all going to tune in for this one because this is a massive fight over here. Look, I want it to happen over here. I know there's been a lot of talk about these international Riyadh season cards not doing well. I spoke about it this morning. They did well as far as I was concerned. I mean, again, I'm not privy to the pay-per-view numbers, but in terms of, I mean, AJ Dubois, I mean, that looked incredible. That must have done decent numbers. This will it do Wembley like that? Yeah, with a good undercard. Remember one thing about these Riyadh season cards, as opposed to old pay-per-view cards, it isn't just the co-main and main. I mean, it isn't just the main and co-main. There's so much more. So if you were to do that over here, you know you're not just going to get Ben EUBANK and then bullshit. You're going to get Ben EUBANK and a lot below them. So I think it could do Wembley. It definitely does the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. What's that? 65,000 or whatever that is. It definitely does that. So yeah, CONOR BENN has had his suspension lifted. Wow. CONOR BENN is now a free man. And you know, even if CONOR BENN wasn't going to fight Chris Eubank Jr., like say in a crazy world, CONOR BENN doesn't fight Chris and Chris fights fucking Canelo, right? Let's just play hypotheticals here. It almost felt like British boxing needs someone, doesn't it? I feel like all the superstars are, and there's some coming through. I still have hope of Ben Whittaker. I do, a lot of hope. I still think he will prove to be a bit special. I have a lot of hope for Moses Itoma. There are other fighters as well, but when you look at the names, they're all guys mid to late 30s, or girls, if you add Katie Taylor into the mix, that are coming to the end. Like, where is the guy now? And CONOR BENN could be that guy. He could be that guy. Whether it be at 147 over here, which I think is his best weight, or 154. Like, this 160 roll of the dice with Chris Eubank Jr. will just be one fight at 160. Like, CONOR BENN is not a 160 guy. He's not. I mean, he would have been in the ring with those guys that he fought that are 154 and thought, fuck me, they're pretty big. Like, CONOR BENN is perfectly built for 147 pounds. But the amount of money on offer for this fight, you make 160. You make 160. So, guys, girls, what do you make of this? Again, there'll be a lot of you, I know how everyone feels about this, that will say drug cheats should be banned for life, right? That's the thought process, not just by you. I have that as well. There should be no place for drug cheats in the sport. But let's take that cap off for a second. This is boxing, and understand that. I mean, Ryan Garcia got a year suspension. Like, fighters, just 6 months seems to be the average. CONOR BENN has had his situation with UKAD and British Boxing Board of Control for 2 years. I think that's penalty enough. That's just my thought. And that's not me saying it as someone that is friendly with CONOR BENN. That's just me saying it as for any boxer. Like you can't treat boxer A that way and then boxer B differently. Like, if we're going to go down the 6-12 month route, let it be for everyone. If we're going to go down the lifetime ban route, let that be for everyone. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, this is very interesting. Very, very interesting. Let's quickly look if they've said anything else. No. Interesting. All right, cool. There you go. The big news. Conor Benn has had his suspension lifted. He is a free man, so to speak, and he will make a lot of money in his next fight. That next fight will definitely be Chris Eubank Jr. Peace.